to talking about This Is Us, Beth and Randall's relationship.
Okay, if you're not caught up on This Is Us,
If you're not by the time this episode comes out, like, I don't know, yeah.
Well, no, because there's some people that they, like, just haven't seen any of the last season or something, and then they'll finally watch it.
If you don't care, you don't care.
But, yeah. We got to talk about those last few episodes.
Well, it's not even the last few
season.
episodes. I want to talk about the relationship in general.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about in general, but it really shook things up.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
So from the
beginning,
picture perfect couple.
From the beginning, you see Randall and Beth as, like, compared to everyone in the show, as, like...
And just people in general. They're literally, like, the couple that everyone wants to be.
I'll talk about the show. Let's not branch it into real life, because it's not real life.
Excuse you. I speak for the viewers.
I don't, because you speak for the women. Let's be real.
Nah, you liked Beth.
Yeah, but you said, like, in real life,
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not tying it to real life. It's a made up story.
Oh, whatever.
We're not agreeing with that. I'm not agreeing with that.
You're lame. Whatever.
But nonetheless, yeah. So in the beginning, like, everyone had their own issues. I forgot what's the brother's name. The other one. I forgot his name. The Manny.
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin. Like, he was going through his, like, relationship thing with his, like, ex girlfriend, because I don't think they were anything else. Kate, right? Her name was Kate.
Yes.
Kate. Shut up. Kate was going through, like, her whole, like, trying to find herself, and, like, you know, down the road met Toby and all that. But, like, Randall and Beth, like, from the beginning, they had it together. They had their family. Things were going good. Randall was obsessed with finding out who his father was. Mm-hmm. Beth was supportive, or what looked like she was supportive of that.
They were just like ride or die.
Yeah.
And they always knew how to figure stuff out or work it out or talk it out. Like, it was never like an actual thing. Like, they just always communicated apparently perfectly.
And, like,
so we thought.
This show has a great idea of, like, being able to, like, of seeing people and, like, you oh man, like the mom and dad. I'm drawing blanks on the names right off the top of my head.
Jack and Rebecca.
There we go, Jack and Rebecca.
Oh,
you see them as a perfect couple.
3 seasons and
like
it doesn't
in the
help.
beginning, from what I remember in the first season, you see them as a perfect couple. But as it progresses, you start seeing like
that was
they
true.
have flaws. They're human, and I love that about the show where it gets real. Like, I don't really care for like this fake stuff that they try to put in, but like I love how they have like our relationship isn't perfect. Sometimes I yell at you. Sometimes I dislike what you're doing. Sometimes I don't agree with it. And like, I love that.
Well, same.
And seeing in these last couple episodes, there was a flashback where they showed before like they moved in the house, before they had kids.
From like the beginning when they first met, and then
even that,
yeah, it was like when they first met and went on a first date, and then it was like they like right before they got engaged, they were together like 7 years or whatever, and then getting married and all that.
Yeah, and that was interesting because you see, Beth pretty much sums up that it's always been what Randall wants to do. From their first date up until
she's always had to bend and like be the person who makes it easier for both of them.
Man, like even one that I thought was crazy where she had to like go, like she said she was going on like a business trip or something like that, but she was really going to like a hotel to stay the night.
Yeah,
so
she literally just needed a night away because he's like super overbearing. It's very interesting because the episodes put him in a much different light, because from a girl's standpoint,
that's true,
he always looked like the most devoted, most like emotionally available, like loving, supportive kind of guy. Like, he looked like it. Yeah. And then it kind of twisted it and showed, well, it was too much too, because then oh my god, I'm losing my thought. Oh gosh, I lost my thought.
Okay. It was too much. Well, it was too much because he always found a way. He wasn't manipulating her. And we had no. I'm not signing up for that.
I know about manipulative behavior, sir.
For example, when they were in the store and he was going there for his dad to like go pick up snacks or whatever they were doing.
When she was trying to get away,
she was like, oh, she was gonna go watch shows, and like Randall made like a I guess what women would call a cute reference to one of the shows she was
like,
gonna watch.
Yeah, I remember that's when we whatever kind of thing.
Yo, and she was like, "Oh, now I don't want to watch it without you." And I'm like, "What? Just go live your life, boo."
She's like, "So now I don't want to watch it without you because like she's like, "Oh, that's our thing."
No.
And so then he's like, "Oh no, you can go." Like, please, guys, I want to hear opinions because the way he said, "Oh no, you can go," still was like, come on.
I don't think he said that.
Yes, he did.
I think he asked, like, "Are you sure?" Like
something like that, and it kind of sounded like.
I don't think so. You're looking way too much into it. I really think that was genuine.
Because when you look at the rest of what he was doing to her, it kind of ties in.
No.
Oh my god.
I don't agree. We had a fight with this when we saw this because I don't agree.
A fight. Yes, it was a blowout.
That was a tussle. I don't agree with that because I don't feel like he was manipulating her. Like he when someone asks you something, like when I ask you something like, "Hey, do you want this?" and you tell me no, and that's like my second confirmation to this after you said like, "Hey, I don't want it," and I'm like, "Oh, you sure you don't want this ice cream that I have?"
Right.
Dog, don't get mad at me.
No, because I can't eat it because I'll get sick.
Don't get mad at me because you say no to it.
Yeah.
Like that. That's the vibes I got where it's like she agreed to come back home because she's like, okay, yeah.
Okay, but that was a minor one. So like, she just always had to bet. Like even for the first date, she was not feeling him. Like she kind of just wanted to get away from him.
He was very pushy, I'll say.
And then when he gets back to his dorm room, he's like, I'm going to marry that girl someday.
Oh, I was like, whoa. You got to tell a woman what to do? Did she consent to that?
But like, I was like, where did you get that feeling, sir? Where did that occur?
Didn't she say like she never wants to see him or something?
She basically said like, lose my number. Don't talk to me. And I'm like, okay, so from the start, he was very like, no, this is going to go this way. And then he had those ways to make it seem romantic. And this is one of those things, it really does, it messes with girls' heads. Because I know that there's guys out there like that. Where
I know.
It's like, a mask, like to the world, this looks like the best person ever. And then, behind the scenes, it's kind of controlling.
Yeah. Of course, I feel like
that's not great.
There's a lot of guys that are like that.
So, like, that's kind of what we started to see. And then, I feel like she spoke for a lot of women. Even if we're not with men that are like that, it's like, a lot of times women are the ones that have to bend. Women are the ones that have to kind of keep the peace and do the extra chores or do the whatever. And it gets exhausting.
I don't agree with that.
I think so because women are like seen as the caretakers, okay? Whether you have kids or not, whether you are married or not, whatever. I feel like women just kind of put more on their shoulders, whether it's house, job, kids, whatever. I feel like that's a thing.
I feel like it's a thing.
I get stressed out sometimes.
I feel like that's
thinking
a thing.
I'm everywhere.
I feel like that's a thing, but that's on that person, guy or girl, to be like, no, like I really can't do this, or you really need to do this.
But then you have to be with someone who's going to then not get mad when you ask for help and like be like, okay, like let's try this or whatever. No, I don't really care about. I don't really care about the not getting mad when you ask for help. Yo, just shut up and do it. Nothing against you because I don't say this to you, of course. So freaking.
Well, that's how I feel. If I tell a friend or a significant other, whoever. Yo, whether you want to get upset at me or whatever, as long as the job gets done, I don't care. Complain all you want.
True, but don't be a dick.
Get it done.
There's no reason to be a dick.
Whatever that means, because I feel like you need context to that. Like,
you can just be kind. Like, if the person is like nicely asking for help, you don't need to be mean about it.
It's subjective, I'll say.
No, it's not.
Because it depends on
being a dick.
It depends on what is happening. Because I can't really speak on for something. You don't know what someone that's going through to why they responded that way. You don't know what their like thought is in their head. What?
Dick.
Whatever. So back to Randall and Beth. So you just see their relationship like going deeper into it, where we see a younger Beth and Randall, and he proposed to her like I think 7 or 9 times, something like that. Like a lot of times. Like, and she was just like over it. And there happened to be a time where they were golfing, and
it
Beth
was
talked
about
to the mom.
okay. So the mom, first of all, Randall's mom was going to be there, which first of all, Beth didn't want.
Yeah.
Thought it was just a date with the two of us. And he was just like, okay, well, no, she's coming. And it's like, okay, again, this is that controlling thing. Fine. And I don't know. He finally was like, oh, you don't have to worry about me proposing again. Rebecca talks to her, and I don't know. So basically what happened is she then was like, okay, get in the car. We're going to go here. Beth like loves nachos and something else. I forget what it was.
Ginger beer. Come on now.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Jamaicans out there.
So that was, she had said, and it's funny because if you go back in the episode, she literally said that on the first date because Randall tried to take her to the super fancy restaurant where then they tried to racially profile them and she stood up for them. Yep. He was completely like oblivious. He wasn't going to do it. Like it was this.
Well, I think he understood what was happening.
Yeah,
he was
but
just like,
it was interesting.
It is what it is. I got to do this.
And it's interesting because in that moment you saw like, oh, she's not one to be walked on, but then it kind of, it's very interesting. But anyway, so she literally said, she's like, no, like that would be a perfect date to me. And you kind of get the idea that they literally never did that until the proposal. Yeah, so she like took 7 years. Okay. This woman just wants what? $10 worth of food. That's what she loves. Like, come on. So she's like eating and whatever. And she's like, okay. She's like, okay, do it. So like, then he does the proposal. Then it's actually something she wants. It's.
But that's what I like the advice that Randall's mom gave to Beth.
Right.
Because I really feel if I ever have a daughter, if we ever have a daughter, yo, I'm going to be like, you got to tell the person what you want. If you want to do something, yo, do it.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Like, she grabbed Randall's hand and they went off. Like, there was... like,
well, that's the thing. She did.
In that instance, but everything else, she was always playing follow the leader.
I understand, but you know what I'm saying? The first time they had a date, she alluded to it. She was clear. She didn't even allude. She was clear from the beginning that that's what she wanted to do. And he never once thought, like... let's just do that one of these days. Come on, slacking.
I don't know. I can't talk on that part.
Yeah, and then it
Try
shows.
to shoot Randall some bail.
It shows how even on their wedding day they got married in their house. They're in different parts of the house getting ready.
Yep. She
is frantically writing her vows. He has like pages worth that now he has to edit down because it's ridiculous. She's literally frantically writing them because she's like, oh, and I got pulled in this direction. I had no time this week. It all slipped away versus Mr. over here with his essay.
Yeah.
Like that really put it in perspective that like really he couldn't pick up some slack so she could have some time too for this monumental day.
Yeah.
So there's that. And it's interesting because throughout everything, it still kind of shows how they work. It's very it shows kind of how relationships can be where it's like they have those negatives, but then you kind of stay together because you have those times that like just seamlessly go good.
Yeah.
So like it's very interesting because those like kind of reaffirm like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Mm-hmm. It could often mask if it really is bad, which is interesting. But yeah, so like through marriage and like the baby, it was interesting because the first baby at like 3 a.m. So he made her nachos. And they're eating the nachos together and they're talking. And she had a really good point. And he eats like the last nacho that has tons of cheese on it. And she basically said, she's like, you know, you've always been the kind of guy who just really like goes for those perfect nachos, like the perfect ones loaded with cheese, nice and big. And then I get stuck with the crumbs at the bottom of the bowl. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Was deep. That's a good one. Like, and that's sad. That's really like just that makes you really feel down.
What sucks is like this happens in relationships. Like, but like from what we saw, from what they portrayed to us, Randall did it a lot of the time where it was like all about him, and I don't think it was purposeful.
No, but
it's not how you should operate.
Right. And it's interesting because so when it first goes into this episode, because what it led, like the previous episode left off like, oh, we gonna do this, and like, you know, the cliffhanger, whatever. And they got in this big argument, okay, late at night in their bedroom. And And she's like, we have been having the same fight since we started dating.
Yeah.
And one, it was true because then it went through the episode, showed you kind of the reoccurring thing. And two, that like struck a chord with me because it's like we've had those issues.
Yeah.
Where the same freaking thing just kept coming up.
Yeah.
Whether it would come up in the same ways or like slightly different ways, it would kind of surprise you, which is annoying. And
one of us would bring it up and be super upset, like, yo, this is the same thing we were fighting about,
yes.
Months ago or whatever.
Yes. And like and it's infuriating because there's obviously still a reason that you're bringing it up. There's still something underlying there that needs to be addressed, that needs to be actually addressed and fixed. Because on one or the other side or both or whatever, it's just not clicking. And it's very interesting to me because we will go through those things and it'll take months. It'll take forever to like finally stop. And all of a sudden it's like there's a light bulb or something in either one of us or both of us. And like, it's like this just calm takes over. Like when you finally solve the freaking most annoying, hardest puzzle and you're like, it's finally done. Like we can actually move on. Like we actually, and it's interesting because these arguments, they're terrifying because you're like, are we ever going to get over this? And they're not like always the greatest. It's not always the healthiest way to get to your solution. But when you get to the solution, then you're like, okay, like, yeah, it wasn't worth it in the case of like crying and whatever, but it was worth it in the case that we finally got to an understanding and now this made us better as a couple, and we're not going to go back there again. We're not going to make those moments. Mistakes.
I love when we can like, we have an issue and then we tackle it and it's just like, yo, that's how we operate and we move going forward. And it makes our lives easier and more fluid.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you see that with Randall and Beth, where it's like she's been trying to tackle this issue, but Randall doesn't see what's happening, even though she keeps saying it.
And that's the thing, is a lot of times there's just a disconnect. And now both people are getting mad and frustrated and upset and distant because now there's this disconnect where like the pieces just aren't fitting together. Mm-hmm. You're both literally saying what needs to be said, but it's just not like, you're not hearing it the right way, or you're not understanding it. You're not like really grasping it, and you're not also coming up with a solution that works for both of you. Like it's an intricate process. Yeah. It's exhausting. So I feel it.
And like the episode ended, that season finale ended with essentially what we assume, because there was no like real confirmation of it, of Randall possibly stepping down from running, because I don't think he was elected yet.
Well, he was elected, but he didn't start his term yet.
Yeah, like him possibly stepping down, which we didn't see. He asked his partner, what would happen.
Right, but then at the same time, Beth was going to say they're moving down to Pennsylvania.
Exactly. So, we're not sure what exactly is going to happen with the next one. We assume that Randall canceled.
Because at the end of season 2, you saw they alluded to possibly Beth and Randall were divorced later in life.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot.
That was the cliffhanger of season 2. So basically this whole season shaped up to now where you're seeing, okay, are these fights leading to divorce? Like, is this the end of them? But then you see they're in that older age again and they're still together and they're thriving. So it's interesting because basically everybody thought this was going to be the end of them.
Yeah, and they were all really getting together for the passing of their mom's death, Randall's mother's death.
Well, maybe. We don't know that yet.
What? We saw she was on the bed. We assume she's dying.
We assume she's in hospice care in her home. We assume.
She has a nice home, but she's dying.
Well, people are actually saying that they think it's Kevin's home. I've been seeing a lot of theories.
He has a kid too.
Yeah. And they were so cute together though.
Oh, whatever. She don't want kids. I don't want you.
Bruh. But yeah, so it's very interesting how shows like that, I've always liked This Is Us because it is more realistic. And that was their whole thing when they were first advertising it a few years ago, was like, it is. It's us as a human race. It's gonna tackle actual things, and it does, because it tackled like miscarriage and like serious topics, and then it just the everyday kind of stuff like a relationship, like what it really can look like even with Kevin and I don't remember the girlfriend's name. How they were saying how Kevin really wants kids and the girlfriend really didn't. She knew for certain she would never want kids. So it was kind of one of those things where you're like, should we really be in this? Because this is kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
We're not, one of us is going to be very unhappy later in life.
And of course, being the guy, you're like, she's going to change her mind. It's the girl. Of course she's going to want kids.
Which is ridiculous, because in this day and age, women are allowed to say, I do not want kids.
You can, but kids is such a major point. Like, it's much like when you're getting a house. Like, that's like your next checklist item.
Right.
So it's like, it's no disrespect on the woman, or on her or anyone. It's just like, I would really like to have kids. Like, I think we've had that back and forth before.
Well, yeah. So it's interesting because I like how this show goes through. It's relationship stuff. It's family stuff. It's health stuff. Like, it's stuff you can actually relate to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it gets a little dramatic every now and then. Yeah, it gets a little, because it has to. It's TV. But for the most part, it's pretty solid. So.
Yeah. All right. So